VGK opens a three-game homestand as the Boston Bruins roll into town. There are playoff implications on the line as VGK clings to a 2-point lead in the Pacific over Edmonton and are battling for a playoff spot still. And one of the six teams the Bruins are battling that are within 4 points of the Eastern Conference wildcard position. We'll break it all down next, right here on Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. I just need to correct myself a little bit on that open. VGK is not really battling for a playoff spot they're in, but they're battling for the top spot in the Pacific Division. So I want to clarify that. Tony Cardasco, longtime sportscaster and marketing consultant, along with Chris Golick, collectibles editor for the Hockey News, owner of Silver State Sports and Cards. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Coming up later on in the program today, Bruce Cassidy looking for chemistry in his lines. That sounds a little bit familiar if you go back to yesterday's show. And our locks of the night and predictions. That's all I had. We're brought to you today by FanDuel. It is the start officially of March Madness. Not March is So Madness because he's gone, but March Madness. Go to FanDuel.com, America's #1 sports book. So, Chris, hopefully VGK got the rest that they needed after returning home from this 4-game road trip. They really did show up there at the rink a couple of days. I think Cassidy felt that they needed some touches, and he felt that their practices were good on Tuesday and Wednesday, practice sessions there. William Karlsson should be back in the lineup, and he should be back tonight. And Shea Theodore shed his no-contact jersey yesterday in practice. Bruce Cassidy sounded like Theodore won't be back this weekend, but could be back very soon. And Boston, a team in the post-Rat Brad Marchand era, has now lost 3 in a row, and they're not a good road team. And it's the Bruins' first of 5 games on the road. Advantage VGK?
Slightly. They're a minus about 270 or so. So, I mean, that said, it's a spot where VGK still needs to show up. You can't take the opponent lightly. Boston playing loose and freely. They're not expected to do anything right now. So that could make them a dangerous situation, not a dangerous team, but a dangerous situation. So VGK needs to show up. They need to check all the boxes that Coach Cassidy wants them to check. You have new lines, old lines, but new lines coming back. We'll talk more about the chemistry later. You'll have some juice. Of course, William Karlsson will be in the starting lineup tonight. Crowd will erupt for that, and hopefully Aiden Hill can do his thing. And I mean, what a time for a nice, 4-1, 5-1 boring type of game. But VGK still has to, like I said, they still got to show up.
And this is a Bruins team that is up and down. Interim head coach Joe Sacco, David Pasternak, still a Bruin, 34 goals and 83 points, but you have to wonder what the chemistry is like on the Bruins team. I think they're bringing up players from the AHL level. It's just, again, they can't find that consistency themselves in lines.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions for a team that needs to decide a path, right? Jeremy Swayman got his bag, obviously, from the Boston Bruins, who only has an .897 save percentage, and Korpisalo, who probably makes probably about 1/7 of what Swayman gets from an AAV perspective. It has an .896 save percentage, so that's something right there. That what general manager, what Don Sweeney, right? That's something that they're going to have to evaluate in the offseason, how they get more out of the goaltending position. They paid the position, now they got to get the results out of the position, but. Morale, right? I mean, what does David Pasternak have to be excited about all of a sudden? I mean, you lost Bergeron, you lost Krejci, now you lost Brad Marchand in 2 or 3 seasons. And Pasta's looking around like Will Smith at the end of that Fresh Prince episode, looking for everybody. So we'll see if the Bruins have anything in the tank to be competitive. The only thing in the Bruins' favor is VGK didn't have the greatest road trip, but same token, VGK should come out of this game shot out of a cannon. It's kind of weird for both teams. Boston traveled east to west, first game of their long road trip, and they've been playing like garbage at home, so they're looking to get out of Dodge, so to speak. Golden Knights, first game back from the road trip. First games back from the road trip never go well. So I think it might be especially in new lines for both teams, new situations. I think you'll have a sluggish first period, and the game will settle down. And maybe it's the old adage: first team to find their game wins, which likely will be the Golden Knights.
And VGK is fighting for the top spot, not a playoff spot, but the top spot in the playoffs. That's what I meant to say. At least we catch ourselves here. We're pretty honest with you folks. Charlie McAvoy still out, still injured. That shoulder injury that he sustained in the Four Nations. He's still listed as week to week. He's their best defenseman, and they need him for the playoff push. He's played 50 games this season. No telling when he's going to be back. They had an update the other day that said he's still week to week, and I don't think he'll be back in the regular season for sure. And I think that there's some doubts that he'll be back for the postseason. But he's a major cog for this Boston Bruins team, especially from the blue line.
We saw what McAvoy did in the Four Nations, right? There was a player that doesn't get necessarily a lot of national exposure, someone you don't think about, and all of a sudden he's out there leveling McDavid and becomes the hero of Team USA for a moment there, right? He was right up there with the Bash Kachuk brothers, the way things were going. So it's unfortunate for McAvoy that an injury was sustained as a result of the Four Nations, and that was even brought up yesterday in Coach Cassidy's presser. The Four Nations keeps on still creeping. It's March the 20th. It was a month ago, I believe now. A little bit over a month ago, and we're still referencing Four Nations injuries and Four Nations fatigue and such. So, yeah, I mean, unfortunate on a lot of levels. And speaking of which, Shea Theodore, although he's practicing fully, should be back next week, it still looks like that he's still going through Four Nations and recovery as well.
Yeah, crazy, right? It seems like that is dragging on. The residue of all those injuries and the attrition rate and everything. And I know Gary Bettman was just as an aside. Gary Bettman yesterday was just talking about, we have to do something to spice up the All-Star game based on the ratings and everything else, the excitement that was generated from the Four Nations. So I don't know what he has up his sleeve. VGK has a lot to clean up, mostly the turnovers, battling loose pucks, again, defensively, all of that. And do you feel that they've had ample time now to clean up a lot of their mistakes? Because this is it, man. I think, from this point forward for VGK, for all the teams in contention, these are like playoff games now. And I don't care if VGK is a minus 275 or whatever favorite in this game tonight. They have to show up and they have to execute, and they have not been executing very well.
If I'm reading this right, the Golden Knights between now and the end of the regular season only have 2 small pockets where they can get a practice in without it being like right after or right before a game. If I'm looking at this right, it would be Thursday, March 27th, and then Sunday or Monday, March 31st. Otherwise, it's every other day. One more later in the season between Monday the 14th as well. So theoretically, the Golden Knights have at most 3 practices left between now and the Stanley Cup playoff, I guess, whatever happens after. So 3 more practices of the regular season. So the time to clean up issues and stuff as far as doing it in the practice scope is, dwindling right now. And you have mentioned, and we've pointed out that the Golden Knights, when they do get a practice to clean things up, usually you see immediate results. Usually. Golden Knights shooting was a topic yesterday, generating more high dangers and stuff like that, and getting their transition game back, which was absolutely dormant against the Detroit Red Wings. So all these things you'd like to see. Coach Cassidy talked about pace, I believe, in Tuesday's practice. And yesterday was probably just about familiarity and getting the lines ready to go and everything, and seeing if that chemistry, we'll talk more about that later, can be developed. So this is go time right now. It's the last 15 games. It's been a kind of a sleepy week and a half period. Even when they were winning games before this last road trip, some of their wins weren't the prettiest as well. So, you need some boring games. You need some nice 4-1 VGK games right now where they score early and they score often and they're rolling 4 lines. And you like to see that when they have. I mean, the Golden Knights still have a lot of lesser opponents, even though looking at this doesn't look like a weak schedule, but you got Detroit coming. That's a lesser opponent theoretically. Tampa's going to be tough. They go to Chicago for a game. They go to Nashville for a game. So those are games you love to see the Golden Knights just play some blowout hockey and hopefully be on the right side of it.
Yeah, and they did practice with touches, and we're going to hear a lot of nice stick, I think, on the State Run broadcast tonight because they were trying to just finish off plays. That's been the biggest issue there. And of course, shoot the stinking puck. They've got to shoot more in the next couple of games than 35 times combined. That should be the output in one game. That should be the output in tonight's game. Coming up next on the big program, Bruce Cassidy looking to build chemistry with his lines down the stretch. We'll get to that as we return right here after this message by our new sponsor, Bear Mattress, on Locked On Golden Knights.
Did you know getting a good night's sleep is the #1 recipe for long-term success in life? I didn't. It took me way longer to realize than I'd like to admit. It was years of tossing and turning. I was always tired. I never felt like I could live up to my potential, but not anymore. Thanks to Bear Mattress. I used their sleep quiz and I matched with the Elite Hybrid. It's perfect for side sleepers like me. Now I wake up energized. I'm getting deeper sleeps and I'm ready to attack the day. No matter how you sleep, Bear Mattress has a match for you with a focus on recovery, cooling, and pressure relief to upgrade your sleep and improve your overall quality of life. Go to bearmattress.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL at checkout for 40% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. You have to use my promo code on the very last page of checkout to get this discount. That's bearmattress.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL for 40% off site-wide. Bearmattress.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL.
Welcome back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco.
Can all the average be like that?
Well, why don't they record us like doing ad reads, man, and give us some cash or something? A free mattress. I want a mattress.
Oh, there you go.
A bear mattress. Those sound like they're very comfortable. How frequently do you have to truly replace your mattress?
God, we bought ours since our house in Southern Highlands.
How long ago?
And, God, we probably had this. Oh no, I'm sorry, it wasn't Southern Highlands. No, we got a new bed not long after we moved out here. So we probably been on the same mattress for about 8 years now.
Yeah, I think mine's about seven,
like that, yeah.
7 or 8. We might want to change that out. Just saying, Bear Mattress. That's a great new sponsor of the show.
Give me a Bear mattress. I'll give you all the product reviews you need.
Yes, absolutely. So I just can't stop laughing because, again, I don't say things to pat myself or yourself on the back. Just, again, when people start chirping at us and saying, why are you saying that? Or like, you don't like this team. Nothing. But the notes yesterday, my notes on a napkin yesterday, don't you believe, Golick, that Barbashev will be returning to the top line down the stretch? I think I said that on the napkin specifically. And I think, again, Bruce Cassidy, especially this time of year when he needs some coaching help or what have you, when he needs to slow down on swaying, he'll listen to the podcast. He does listen to it. So that they'll be returning to the same line. We'll have Eichel and Barbie. I think Bruce Cassidy, again, used this for, I think he got it from the mailbag. Did we put this in the mailbag for him? In any event, I just think that Jack Eichel is going to have to start getting, he said, I think that Jack Eichel's going to have to start getting some reps with Barbie. So, yes, those two will be back on the top line. And that's been a question that we've been thinking about for the past couple of weeks, at least.
With Cassidy, it's all about pairings. We've heard about this for a long time. Eichel and Stone have been a pairing, but it's really been Eichel and Barbashev going back to when Barbashev joined the team in the Stanley Cup run. Hurdle and Dorofeev are becoming a pair right now. Carlson and Smith is an obvious pair. I don't need to go into that. And then Howden and Kolesar. So the interchangeable pieces at the moment are going to be Pearson, Nicholas Waugh, Brandon Saad, and Mark Stone to a degree. Not saying Mark Stone is a bad player, just saying those are the players that Cassidy doesn't mention as pairs. So Cassidy's going to build this lineup down the stretch in pairs, trying to get the best he can out of it. And the fact that he took Barbashev off that top line, there's a lot of reasons that happened. Consistent play, number one, from Barbashev, and then, of course, injuries, balance. Early in the season, it was, okay, this top line is absolutely killing it. It's not sustainable, and we learned it wasn't sustainable. So then Coach Cassidy starts making decisions, starts making changes, and the Golden Knights were still talking about a first-place team March 20th. So Coach Cassidy has found a way to keep this team in a good place as we're in the final 15 games. Again, injuries, forced changes and everything, but now down the stretch, this is where Coach Cassidy wants to build more familiarity. And this is, again, what we're talking about is going to end up as the day one, game one playoff lines. Again, there could change a little bit, but if this team is healthy, that's how it's going to go. And you still got Olofsson waiting in the wings. You got Lavoie waiting in the wings and other players and things like that. So you understand why Coach Cassidy made those changes. You understand why he was mixing it up, and they were looking for some balance. And early in the season, there was no Riley Smith, and we'll see if Riley Smith's hopefully max potential that William Karlsson is back. Pardon me. And then there was no Brandon Saad, who's absolutely been an absolute gem for the Vegas Golden Knights. So now you have that depth. You have the depth pieces that can hopefully provide some balance without taking Barbashev or Mark Stone off that top line, and maybe other teams have to respect the Golden Knights' bottom nine lines a little bit more, especially what Tomas Hertl's been doing.
Yeah, and again, we were just talking about Cassidy jumbling lines, when does this end, and all that. And then yesterday, we talked about that on yesterday's show, and then at the presser yesterday, he talked about just that, starting to drill down on what they're going to look like for the playoffs. And again, we were just asking, when will he stop mixing up lines? And I think for Bruce Cassidy now, this just shows me that he's more or less figured out how he wants those lines to look, again, barring any injuries or what have you, unforeseen circumstances. This is what they're going to go with down the stretch. And, you know, when you talk about Eichel and Barbashev, it was, I think, initially, right, because we thought it would have to be like a fast skater on that wing, and it would have to be someone that just has maybe a little bit more skill. Not a knock against Barbashev, but it was just an odd combination. But that chemistry really did work, and we saw that in the playoffs here in the Cup run. And again, it was Cassidy saying they've been a good pair for a good chunk of the time here, and now that VGK gets to practice, they'll get reacclimated now. And again, time to start building that chemistry word back on the lines, if they can, if that's, again, barring injuries and such. So they've had a good run here. I mean, the injury bug has not been too severe.
No,
it really has
not compared to years past.
No, definitely not. But again, down the stretch here, the final 15 games, this is a team that could be pressing, that could be pushing, and no telling what happens. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But chemistry, the buzzword of the day.
It's a veteran team that's going to be pushing. It's a team with championship pedigree that's going to be pushing. So I think they'll push in the right moments. Cassidy will push them at the right moments. And I think that side of it will work out. We're talking about them loading up, the Golden Knights, loading up on this top line of Eichel, Barbashev, and Stone. But the Golden Knights' top two scorers, Hertl and Dorofeev, are the second line. Now, take that with a grain of salt, because 33 of Hertl's and Dorofeev's goals came on the power play, 33 of their 54 goals. So if you take off 54 from 33, that's 21 goals between Hertl and Dorofeev in 5-on-5 circumstances, whereas Eichel, Barbashev, and Stone combine for 57 goals. You take off 11, so that's 46 goals pretty much at even strength. So yeah, the top scoring line definitely, the top line definitely gets it done 5-on-5. And if there's maybe a concern with that second line, can that second line, number one, before we talk about scoring in 5v5, can that second line play good enough defensively? That's, I think, going to be really important. Hurdle, very responsible in the circle. I think he'll be fine. Dorofeev is untested when it comes to playoff hockey, at least getting reps in playoff hockey. Brandon Saad, very responsible, been around the block many, many times. So hopefully they develop the defensive chemistry while making an impact on the game from a 5-on-5 perspective. And, of course, going now to William Karlsson and Riley Smith. That was a starting line with Jonathan Marchessault, of course, for such a long time. I don't think there will be too many issues reigniting that chemistry there. And Nicolas Waugh, very responsible. I mean, that third line is going to be extremely difficult to play against. You got two centers out there, so as far as faceoffs and things like that go, that should be very responsible in the faceoff circle on both sides of the ice. And there's not going to be too many circumstances where the forward group of Riley Smith, William Karlsson, Nicolas Waugh get beat in transition. They're going to be responsible following their assignments in from the point and such. And the balance is there. Everything on paper, I think, is there. Are they a cup contender? I think it's close. I mean, I'm not going to say they're not a cup contender, but now that we have basically a fully healthy roster without Shea Theodore, we know what Shea Theodore can do. If this team can clean up defensively, if they can get that chemistry that's needed on the offensive side, then, there could be something fun to talk about. A lot of ways this thing can go in the last 15 games. A lot of different ways this team can go.
Yeah, and the way that it stands now, I mean, the path for VGK would be Minnesota and then Edmonton, LA winner, I believe. And then that's when they would run into one of the tough teams, the ruffians, if you will, from
St. Louis could be on the docket depending on how the wild card situation shakes
of course.
out too.
But that Central Division
series against Jordan Binnington, how awesome would that be?
Oh, just loads of fun.
Be awesome.
Loads of fun. We appreciate everyone tuning in. We'll be back with our locks and predictions.
Oh, you're taking us home. I'm like, great, 2-segment show. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm a little off kilter today, but that's okay.
Well, you actually do an ad read coming up, so make sure you got your ad read hat on.
Yeah, at least I couldn't screw up an ad read because it was all videoed, video recorded. Locks and predictions next, right here on Locked On Golden Knights. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. And, of course, right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when you place that first $5 bet, and it wins. You have to win on that first bet, $200, 200 extra bucks that you could use on everything from buzzer beaters to betting on High Point to Cinderella stories, and even who will be cutting down the nets. This is the craziest and wildest time of the year. I know I'll be watching today wherever I'm at, catching as much hoops as I possibly can. And then again, you have to have your eyes on some underdogs as usual. I mentioned High Point. I mentioned McNeese State. I think Drake is a good play there as an underdog. And FanDuel makes it easy to back them with the spreads, the totals, and game props. With tournament games happening now for the duration, this is so much fun. And not only do we have the NCAA, but the NIT, you could check that out. There's also the women's bracket. So much action in college hoops. This is the time of year. The FanDuel app is so easy and simple to use. And when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action. FanDuel.com. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights, Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick. We appreciate you. I should have recorded that one. We appreciate you. About 10 takes. 10 take, Tony. Your mic's off, bro. We appreciate you making us your first. What's that?
We can record them.
Okay. We appreciate you making us your first listen every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast. Tomorrow is WTF Day. already, and Saturdays sometimes the Chris and Chris Jr. show. So I think one of the keys to tonight's game is the one thing that Vegas Bjorn does. This is why he's Bjorn to be wild. One of the things that he does best is trip over sticks. So I think he'll probably get a couple penalties. We'll see a couple of Bruins in the box. Bruins, Bear Mattress. What a day. What a day. Great tie-in. Great segue there. So I think they have to get on the power play because they haven't been doing that very well. The last game, right, Detroit, they didn't have any power play opportunities. So I'm going to say over under power play goals tonight, 1.5. I'm going to go there. And I will be taking Brett Howden and Nick Waugh, although I don't feel real confident about my pick, but I'm going 5-3 VGK. That's what I'm going to do. Let's see if the lines show up here for VGK. It's a mishmash, I guess, for the Boston Bruins, the way that they're now trying to play sans Marchand and all the injuries and what have you. So that's what I'm going to do. I think VGK could have some juice in this game tonight. I'm going to go 5-3 Golden Knights, but I don't feel really good about that pick. Golick?
I mean, I understand. I think VGK is okay in this game. It might be a slow start, and then all of a sudden they turn it on. Boston might even score the first goal, and if that happens, I don't think that's anything to worry about. 4-2 Vegas. Hopefully a boring-ish game, maybe some rough stuff, but hopefully a boring-ish game. 4-2 Vegas, and let's party like it's 2017 with Riley Smith and William Karlsson getting on the score sheet.
The retro line for VGK.
Maybe they wear their black jerseys tonight.
That should be pretty cool.
I would love if they wore their green St. Patrick's Day warm-up jerseys. Thanks, NHL.
I know that you are such a big, before we get out of here, a couple of notes here, but I know that you are such a huge Brendan Brisson fan.
Huge.
And I said,
Huge.
Once he goes back to New York, he's going to be just fine. He just had a game, Chris, in which he was -5 this past week. He was -5.
That's good. He's getting a little better defensively. That's good to see. I was getting worried there.
But then he came back. He came back and had, I think, a couple of assists in 3 games after that. So it's just going to take him a while to get acclimated. I have not given up.
Brendan Brisson's stats with the Hartford Wolfpack: 5 games, 2 assists, 6 penalty minutes, -7.
-7 in 5 games. We do want to also congratulate UNLV Rebel Hockey.
Oh, God, yeah.
The club team, yes, our good friends there. And, of course, Nick Raboni's been on our show before, and we have to congratulate them. And I just want to – I'm hoping that they do something. They should have a parade through downtown Summerlin or something. It's a chip.
I think they should bring them I would assume, and again, I have no knowledge, I would assume they will bring all or part of the team out tonight at the Golden Knights game. I would love in the first intermission, put the whole team on the ice and give them their moments.
Tremendous.
Give them
Great
their
idea.
moment on the ice.
You're a marketing
in the
guy
first
now.
intermission.
Yeah.
Otherwise, do something at the castle, like at that first whistle or whatever. But they really do deserve. They need a spotlight on them in front of the T-Mobile fans. I think that would be remarkable. They've earned that, and this team right now, in the last couple of years, is paving the way. Should this team ever make that jump to D1, these are the.
They need to.
They do. I mean, it would be a completely different roster if that ever happened, but. It would, the path is being paved right now, and it's the players and coaching staff right now that are putting UNLV on that right path. But at the end of the day, it comes down to one thing, and that's money. And how are they going to get the funding, and where are they going to play the games? I mean, those are the 2 biggest questions that this is going to work.
The third question is, of course, due to Title IX, they would have to add a women's sport as well. So for the fair balance at UNLV, just
right.
Again,
women's hockey is flourishing in Southern Nevada.
That would be phenomenal. But they're talking water polo or just some other like Olympic sports or what have you. But yeah, that would be terrific.
So it doesn't have to be an equal sport. It would have to be like a 1-for-1, a men's program and a women's program.
So
but not the same sports. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So yes, due to Title IX,
sure there's many great
flag
football. That can be made.
Flag football is on the rise. Start the program here. That would be terrific because you have the support of the Raiders. So maybe they would help to fund that. We appreciate everyone tuning in, especially our everydayers. We thank you so much wherever you're tuning in. And of course, don't forget tomorrow, WTF Day. What the stinking Friday? Saturdays, sometimes the Chris Times Chris Jr. show. We have a real busy show tomorrow with WTF. We're previewing a couple of games.
Recap.
Back to back. Yeah. That's going to be a pretty busy day tomorrow, but at least people probably won't be able to steal. I fumbled a lot today, so they won't be able to steal my stuff from the napkin today, fortunately. For my man, Chris Golick, I am Tony Cardasco. I like the head shake. For Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Locked On Golden Knights. And please take care.